Welcome to another episode of DIDAS webinars. Today we are the guest with the Adoption Working Group, and I'm very pleased to welcome my colleague Fabrice Gouzi. He is the head of interoperability at the Federal Office of Statistics, and in this role he's also responsible for the I14Y platform. And he's actually a good working colleague. He's part of the Linda's next activity where I'm the project manager. So with that, Fabrice, thank you very much for taking the time, for giving us some insights into I14Y. And with that, the floor is all yours.
So thanks a lot. I'm really glad to be with you today to explain a little bit what the I14Y, the National Metadata Catalog. Maybe first I14Y, why it's its name. I14Y, it's for interoperability in English. So it's the first letter on the last letter, and there is 14 letters in this word. It's the meaning of I14Y at the end. As Pete said, I'm working for the FSO. I guess everybody knows the FSO. FSO, it's mainly doing statistics, quite important for the democratic process in Switzerland. And we have a lot of data and we have a lot of experience about how it's possible to manage the data, and we support transparency. So we want that the data will be findable and accessible for everybody. It's one of the main topics on how we can support democratic process in Switzerland, and I'm proud to do that. So maybe FSO, we have three main activities. The first one, Statistical, I think everybody knows that. It's quite famous for us. But for a couple of years, we get two new tasks, two new activity in FSO. The first one is the data management, and maybe, as you guess, I use the same color for my slide. So I'm with this department in business. And the last one is data science. So we are also working with LLM and all of this learning stuff. Interoperability, maybe it's clear for everybody what means interoperability, but for me, I think it's always a good opportunity to explain once again what is for us interoperability and why it is important. And I'm loving traveling. For that, I love also this image, because everybody's understand, everybody's travel, everybody's has a good experience of non-interoperability, because when you are traveling, you always have your laptop or some stuff with you, but it's always a wrong plug. So it's really not interoperable. There is another really nice example of interoperability when you are traveling. It's for the finance. So when you are traveling, often you are with your laptop, but you need to buy something. And to buy something, you have your MasterCard probably, or Visa. It's like that. And it's really a nice example of interoperability. So you can go everywhere, use your MasterCard and pay, and it's working. And for us, we will bring some interoperability about the data. So we are working that it will be easier. It's already possible, but easier to share data with other partners. It's really one of the more important tasks for our service. We start to work in these topics with program National Data Management, NADB. It's for a couple of years, actually. And we have three main targets with NADB. The first one is data management, has to be quite easy and efficient. So we have to make that. The second one, if we want to share some information, we have to harmonize it and to make some standards. We have to promote these standards so that the people will work with these standards to exchange easily data. And one big step for that, we need a transparency. We really need to have an idea about what kind of data there is, what kind of data set there is, and how these data sets are structured, which standards are used in which data sets. And we have to make some documentation about all of this. it will be one of the way to make our work on the Switzerland more interoperable. So it means easier to exchange data. The target of this program. And the I14Y is one of the projects inside this program. We have also a good example of what we want with interoperability and why we are working in this place, because we are running some register. I guess everybody knows these three famous register of the federal level. The first one is Business Enterprise Register. Second one is for the UID. And the last one is for building and apartment. All of these three registers are used for statistic purpose, but also for administrative purpose, from confederation, but from canton or municipality. And for that, we harmonize all this data. We define some standard and make quite easily to exchange data between all these actors of the federal level with this standard. And I think it's a really nice example of once only in Switzerland, before that the concept once only came into Switzerland. For this target, we are working on all different levels in Switzerland. The slide is still in German, sorry, but we are working with all offices of the Confederation level, so with social insurance, with energy, with health. We are also working with a lot of canton. Unfortunately, a lot of canton from German part, but not a lot with the French part. We have a lot of people who speak French, but we don't have a lot of contact actually with the French part. We have to move in this area. We are also working with a lot of municipality or big city like Zurich, Bern, etc. And of course, we are also working with private company. So there is some private company who describe some data set on the platform and describe some nomenclature on the platform to promote this standard, because it's already used in many areas on the business. We are also working with a search institute like Unisanté Suisse in Lausanne, for example, or many associations. So our spectrum is quite bright, and we speak with a lot of people in Switzerland. We have three main tasks by the interoperability service. The first one, we are giving some advice on all offices, department, canton, and municipality about how it's possible to make some harmonization about the administrative data. We make some coordination between all actors. It means if city wants to make some harmonization with an offices, federal offices, we will make the connection, we will organize all this work, and we will not decide which part is the owner and how the standard has to be done. It's always done with experts, but we are doing some advice and coordination about this process. On the last point, we are developing and operating the I14Y, the platform. We are trying to use as more as possible open source code or snippets, so we don't need to develop from scratch everything, but we have some kind of development really ad hoc for us. So we have a teams, we have an agile teams, and we are working every day on the development of this platform. Why we are doing that, or maybe not why, but since 1 year there is also a legal mandate with this activity. It's called the MBAG. Everything is of German, because the law it's not translated in English, and I don't want really translate a law in English just by myself with my English. So it's German, but we have three main activities. I will speak a little bit more these three main activities, but the first one, it's about documentation from dataset with the structure from all datasets in Switzerland. It means open dataset, but also closed dataset, restricted dataset. I will give you some example in this area. The second one, we make a repository from all API and a repository from all public services. For us, it's really the technical possibility to promote the multiple use of metadata, have a fair approach, so it's findable and we can reuse all of this. Everybody can access on the platform and work with the platform. Maybe here it's a big picture about I14Y, and always the same. We can see we have find global search. I will say it, and global search make possible to search every kind of object of the platform. We have open data, restrict data, open data set, closed data set. We have open API, we have closed API. For example, if you want to create something in the UID register, it's a closed API, you need to be registered or you need to be authorized to do that, but you find all information about how it's possible to do that on the platform. We have for the public services and we have the concept. The concept I will show you, it's one main part of the structure, one data set. We are also working that I14Y will be available for everybody with a nice front end, but also via API, so it's possible to make some interaction with other programs. Here it's just a small overview of our information model. As I said before, there is a data set and one data set as a structure. This structure has one or many data elements, and each of these data elements are based on concept. So we can reuse exactly the same concept in many data elements from many other structures. And we can draw something like a map of all data sets, which is reusing exactly the same concept and the same structure. We can say, okay, with this structure, I am interoperable because I'm using exactly the same terminology, exactly the same coding, and it's quite easy to exchange data. It's one of the targets. Or if I'm building a new program or new application, I can also have a look and say, okay, what I have for data and what there is already for concept and who is using exactly this concept. Maybe it's with data area or domain. So I can pick up exactly the concepts that I want or I need to make my data interoperable with this community. And at the end, one data set has a distribution. Distribution is more for open data. We will link where it's possible to get the data, because on the I14Y, we don't have data, we have only the metadata. I have an example of a data set structure and concept. The first one is for enterprise master data. It's a legal unit. And of this level, we can see the description, we can see who is the publisher. If I want to ask something or ask for a change of something, I know which is the contact points. I know in which language it's published. I have a lot of this kind of information. It's all like DCAT. DCAT is a standard to exchange data with other data catalog in Europe. And we have also information like access rights. In this case, access rights is restricted. So it means the metadata are really public. It's not a problem, but it's not possible to get the data. You have to get an access or to ask if it's possible to get the data or maybe just a little bit of the data, but it's not open by design in this case. But the metadata are open, and it's making the transparency of this level. It's also possible to say, okay, that structure is conform to allow, for example, or it's conform to another standard. We are working a lot with ECH, maybe you know that, or ISO. And so you can really link this standard and to say it's a standard because it's already allowed. You will see here the statute it is a standard or is maybe just registered or is qualified to be once a standard. It's our definition. In this register, it's possible to have a look at the structure of this legal unit. So it's really possible to see all data elements of the structure in many languages. You can change the languages and get this information with the good languages. With this button, it's possible to get, for example, the code list. If I want to have a look, okay, what's a legal form, how it look like, I can just jump to the concept and have a look at the concept. Once again, we have this information. Yeah, it's a standard because it's ECH 108 standard. I'm nice with that. I have a description of the standard. I have some metadata of the standard, and I can also go to the content. And the content will show me exactly what kind of number I have to use and which terminology I have to use. And I can get this terminology in many languages. So it's quite easy. I don't have to translate by myself. I don't have to make some confusion by myself. It's possible just to integrate this information in my software, and I know I'm ready to be interoperable with my partner. From the UI, it's possible to get this information machine readable with JSON or CSV. And maybe it's quite interesting for you. We are working actually with FedPol about the EID and the beta ID. Concrete, it's Christian is working with us for the FedPol. He makes some information already. We can have a look. There is, for example, one data set. I will go through this data set. There is 2 public services already in this case, and some concepts. Here I have an overview on all concepts, all information. I can go through the structure of beta ID. I think there is 24 data elements inside the beta ID. I can really have a look about which concepts are used on this. I can get all code lists, for example, for nationality. So I know I'm really conform with that. I have to say, maybe it was on this slide, I'm not on the public website. It's already in production, but I am inside the input area. The input area, it's a private catalog, and I can also have a look on this level. Publication, it's still internal, so it will be published, it will be public, but actually it's not public because we have to make some control. Christian has to work on all these elements and get ready for the publication. I think the publication comes soon, but not yet. Reuse of concept, it's really one of our main target. For that, we have our API, so it's quite easy to make some script with Python, with R or SAS. It's more for the data science world or statistic world, but you can also integrate this information in other tools. We did it once for Lime survey, for example, so it's possible to make a question inside the Lime survey with one of our code lists. So again, you know, okay, I have exactly the same terminology, the same coding system, it's working. We are working all together with ECH, with Open Data Suisse. So we have both the open data sets, and we are trying to make synchronization between all applications. We are also working with GeoCat. It's possible to make some integration into web application or mobile application. As Pete said, I'm also working with Linda's Next. And in this area, we are planning, the next meeting is next Monday. We want to bring all our concepts into shared dimension. So it will be available for RDF and for link data area. It will be able to make some cube with cube creator, for example. I think we will be ready in summer. Reuse of concept. If you are going to the website, in the footer, you have a link to our API. You get this information. And about our API, we are following a standard from the Confederation. And for that, there is always two Swagger. Maybe you know what Swagger is. I will show you after. There is one public Swagger. It means you don't need any access. It's only get method, so you can get all information. On the partner API, it's more for the CRUD operation, so you can create, you can change, you can modify your information, you can make an update on all of this. We have also some link to our user manual and tutorial. Tutorial, it's linking to GitHub. On GitHub, we have some Jupyter Notebook code sample. You can just run the code, see how it's working. It's making easier for integration from our partner. At the end, we are describing all metadata on I14Y with a structured form. So we define what's exactly a dataset, what's exactly an API, what's the link between an API and the dataset. For example, it's possible to get this content of this dataset with this API when we have to use public services and when it's distribution web and all of this governance of structure metadata, we are defining that. So it's making easier to find all objects of the platform. Machine readable, I think it's a must. We are working with REST and JSON and soon definitely with Sparkle. It's possible to link everything. So it's possible to link a concept with a data element or a structure, but it's also possible to link a data element with an API. It's possible also to link service public with a data set. So it's making a description of the content of the public services, for example. It's possible to make some cross standard. So if you are building your application, you can pick up some standard a bit everywhere and making your own, but you know, okay, this kind of information are already interoperable with this area, and it's exactly what I want. What is your plan for this year's API gateway is still in improvement, so quite every month, every 2 months, we push a new functionality into this API gateway for the API first. We are making a lot of onboarding on new content, new organization. We have already about 100 organizations working with us. We are trying to improve the user experience, so we have user groups, and we are working all together with the UX designer. We are making some exchange with other catalog. Open Data Suisse is one of these other catalog, but we are also working with Unisanté Suisse in this area for the research. We are also working with SPHN in Basel to make some connector between our catalog. What I show you just before about the structure, it's really a model from Statistical. It's a flat structure of the dataset, and we know we need to use something else. For example, it's not possible today to describe ECH because it's more like ULM. And for that, we are doing a rework. Maybe I can show you what we are doing actually. It will be all RDF based with Shackle, and it will be possible to have a lot of different kind of structure, maybe Open API, maybe XSD from ECH, etc. We are working open source. We have a GitHub repo. On this repo, actually, it's only possible to get our toolbox open source, but we are working to publish the whole open source code from the application. It will be done maybe by the end of this year, so at least end of next year. So maybe if you have some question, otherwise, I can also show you some concrete example into the application.
Thanks a lot so far, Fabrice. Really very informative. I would guess it's probably a good idea to see the demo. Probably some people have to leave for the next meeting, but do you have an idea how long it takes for the short demo?
I think I will do it quite. It's a start site of unsere Website. Maybe, as I said, you get here the link for GitHub on API. If you click on API, you will get this information. And on Swagger, you will get really information about all kind of call that we have. You can try it actually. I'm coming back to the platform. You have a user manual. Maybe I can put it in English. It's quite slow because we are making some rework. Here we have a global search, so it's possible to search about all of these kind of objects. As I said before, you can also get more filter. For example, you can filter about one of the agency, which one we are working for. You can also filter about the object. You can also say, okay, access right. I just want everything that's public, everything that it's a closed area. I think it's one of the most, what I can show you, it's maybe bâtiment. It's a nice Beispiel, if I find it. So I can get the building master data. I also can get the structure of that. And as I said before, it's possible, yeah, control is quite easy, but I can have a look at this data element. And here it's possible to see, okay, that is the concept. I can click on the concept, have a look on the concept and reuse the concept. It's also possible to make some filter to say, okay, I'm just working with 2 or 3 cantons. From the concepts, I can also have a look about which other dataset are using exactly the same concept. If you are going inside the platform, it looks like that. You can directly create all kind of objects, or you can open it. You can make some filter. What I get ready for you, it's exactly the best ID. Here we have a lot of information. For example, who is responsible for this structure? It's restricted, it's not public, but once again, the metadata are public and it's making everything easier. You can have a look at the structure, just open it and go through all attributes from the structure, exchange that, have a look which nationality there is, etc. I don't know, do you have maybe other questions?
So maybe one thing which I should mention, which I didn't say at the introduction, as we are with DIDAS, what our group is very much interested is what goes on the VC catalog, which stands for Verifiable Credentials Catalog, because we are very specifically designing verifiable credentials. The EID is actually one of them, but there are other verifiable credentials. So one example is the Wohnsitzbescheinigung, where we started a use case. So that's basically where we as DIDAS are trying to make use of the I14Y. So we have probably a little bit a different view and expectation of other target groups. So just wanted to let you that know. So my colleagues know all that, but probably it's rather new for you. So with that said, I would like to open the discussion on the floor for questions and discussions right now. But before I jump into it, thanks a lot, Fabrice, for this presentation, for this demo. So any questions so far?
Hi, Peter. So I just would build on your topic and maybe as a more general question, are there any plans for this VC catalog? And especially like, is there then a process to publish VCs or how this then works? Maybe Peter, you know that yourself, I don't know. But for me, that would be interesting. Where do we stand with regards to, for example, standardization of the domicile of address, the Wohnsitzbestätigung, and such official documents? That would be, I guess, interesting for us as DIDAS as well, right?
Okay, so there are two components. That's what I have a background in data modeling. So what I'm trying to my technical colleagues all the time, there is a business design process behind it. So specifically the Wohnsitzbescheinigung, that's something where the communities are in charge. So they have to define how that looks, so how the structure looks specifically. And then there's a technical side behind it, how this, once it's defined, once the structure is defined, it can be converted into VC. And you have seen the JSON export. So we are very close to that, because a VC in its core is basically nothing else than a JSON structure. So in the best case, we can directly export it, and probably there's a little script which we can create to use this released and published structure and create a technical VC out of it. That's my view how it could be done. So probably there are other views, but that's how I could see how that could work. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not sure, a little bit. I guess that my question is more like, how do we actually bring this adoption, right? I mean, that we have this standardization and interoperability, for example, between the cantons, right? Is there a plan to push this or not? But maybe that's not, we can discuss this also maybe offline once, because that's where I see the gap in the adoption scope, right? That someone needs to bring this and standardize and push things as well, because yeah, you mentioned, yeah, it's the community, but if the federation is not pushing the standards, it's a bit hard.
I can say something about that one. There's a new role which is called data stewards. Probably you have heard about them, and that is supposed the role which takes responsibility of running these coordination and standardization processes and documenting it in this platform. And on that note, Swiss Data Alliance has data steward intensive course right now. So I will attend. It will take place in May. Probably there'll be another one. So, so this pre-technical part, the business definition logic, if you like, is run through that data steward. That's a pretty new thing. And data literacy, unfortunately, in Switzerland is quite some room to improve. But once we have that in a more official way, then hopefully it will be done a little bit more automatically. And Fabrice has mentioned this MBAC regulation, which gives on a federal level a 3-year transition period. So they are obliged to do that. It's not just a fun exercise. And we had a brief mention of Linda's, where I'm the project manager, and we are targeting exactly these groups, not only on the federal level, but also on the canton level, and to give them the tools and to explain them what it takes, not only to define their data, but then to load the actual data sets. So that's an attempt of a very brief explanation. I don't want to hijack the Q&A session.
Perfect, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's right. And for us, for the interoperability platform, we are making this coordination with all these local data stewards of the federal level. But it's not possible for us to decide, okay, that it's a standard and everybody has to know that and to use that. It's, we need probably allow for which say, okay, there is this standard and everybody has to use this standard. It's exactly the process for building an apartment register or for the company register. It's exactly like that. There is always allow which says, yeah, you have to use it. But for our responsibility, we can just make it findable. We can define it of the I14Y, make it that everybody knows that there is this standard. Suggest we can also say, okay, already a lot of cantons are using exactly that. So maybe there is no allow, but in fact, it's already huge reuse. But for us, it's not possible to push and to say, everybody has to use that.
Yeah, it's a long way to go, but the best what we can do is to bring it on everybody's radar.
And I think if the standard is already documented and there is again transparency and we can publish that, it's already a good stuff. Because otherwise nobody knows that there is a standard to use it and there is no promotion.
Other questions in this direction? Looks like everybody's totally overwhelmed. Let's conclude it for today. I would assume it's not the last time that you have spoken about that topic. So with that, I would like to thank Fabrice for taking the time for providing this demo. Thank you very much to everybody for taking the time, and see you next time, and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more information of this type. Thanks a lot.